Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
This episode of the Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at BetOnline.ag. August keeps moving along, and the sports action this summer keeps heating up with tons going on in the UFC, Major League Baseball, and now the NFL preseason. Get in the mix at BetOnline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California, about to unleash on you one hell of a can of audio whoop-ass with my special guest, Chavo Guerrero Jr. As you will remember, Chavo came by a couple of weeks ago as we set the conversation and talking about all things professional wrestling and promoting the upcoming third season of Glow, the very successful series on Netflix. So make sure you're checking that out. Well, Chavo had been smart enough to bring by about 8 or 12 of his ice-cold Los Guerreros fine Mexican lager beers. So we kept the sound rolling. We both kept our microphones, and we commenced to having a beer drinking session and started bullshitting. I knew I would need this podcast down the road, and I'm playing it for you right here, right now, because as I've been out on the road, out there in New York City yesterday, and Los Angeles, California, which is tomorrow for me as I record this podcast, promoting my new show, which season premieres August 12th, yesterday as you hear this podcast. And so my first guest was actor Rob Riggle, former U.S. Marine. And so after every Monday Night Raw for the next 6 weeks, you'll be able to watch Straight Up Steve Austin. Please tune in or set your DVRs. I had a lot of fun filming this series. I learned a lot filming this series, and I sure would like to get a season 2. So I would very much appreciate your support if you watch a show or set your DVRs. Make sure you tune in next Monday night after Raw, where my special guest is none other than one of the stars of one of the hottest shows on television for the last few years, Impractical Jokers on True TV, Sal Vulcano. Man, Sal is a huge wrestling fan, and we bonded immediately and had an absolute blast hanging out with each other. So if you've missed the season premiere, you can stream it anytime. Please stay tuned and set your DVRs and watch Straight Up Steve Austin. Once again, I appreciate your support and would love to get season 2 out of this show so I can pay those gimmicks they keep sending in the mail bills. I'll tell you what, on another note, before I get into this conversation with Chavo, we talked a lot about wrestling, and I was actually about to break down NXT TakeOver from Toronto, and I got a couple of matches into this card, and I didn't get a chance to watch it all because I'm still making phone calls. I've got media all day tomorrow. But what I did get a chance to see, I saw the opening match, the Street Profits versus Undisputed Era for the Tag Team Championships for NXT. And that was a pretty damn good match. Man, I tell you what, the Street Profits, great chemistry together. Those guys are very charismatic. I think both of those guys, when they get a little bit further into their career, you can keep them as a tag team, but you can separate those guys, and you have two very strong guys that could have real long, illustrious singles careers. That's how much I thought about their potential. And then over there on the other side, man, the guys from Undisputed Era, those guys can work their ass off. Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly did an outstanding job. It was a really good match, real solid match. And I tell you what, that Montez Ford, man, I think he's about 6'4", they said on the broadcast. I've seen these guys a couple of times in some backstage skits. Very charismatic, but that dude could have a world championship run way down the line if he keeps at it. And by the same token, so could Angelo Dawkins. But anyway, great match. But I'll tell you, the one that really jumped off my chart was Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae. And man, those two women ripped it up. That's the first time I'd seen Io Shirai work, and I've been following Candice LeRae a little bit, and she can work her ass off. But I'll tell you, man, when Io Shirai turned on her because of the match that came out of the finish from Shayna Baszler, who's doing an outstanding job over there, and when she turned heel and went out there, her execution, her attitude in that ring, the way she snaps her moves, and man, some of the stuff she does just lights out, impactful. I don't want to say dangerous because she's so good at it. And Candice LeRae was an all-star as well. She's kind of like a white meat, kind of girl next door babyface and full of fire, and was the exact equal to Io Shirai's heel work. Phenomenal match. And love the finish. I guess she applied a Koji clutch, whatever it's called. Kind of came right after a good sequence of moves. Those two women put on a badass show. And, of course, I heard about the main event. I haven't got there yet, but I guess it was Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I'm getting ready to tune into SummerSlam. It's about 3 o'clock over here, West Coast time. So I didn't get a chance to finish the NXT pay-per-view, but the 2 matches I saw were awesome, especially Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. That was lights out. That was a damn good match. Props to both those women. And I want to see that 2 out of 3 falls match. Anyway, let me cut it down and get back to business here. I'll watch more wrestling, and hopefully I'll be able to have someone over here and we'll be able to talk about some of the matches that really stood out on both of these cards. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Ric Flair. I believe he is down there in Toronto, I think, to watch SummerSlam. And when he comes back, Lillian Garcia is still supposed to come by, and we're supposed to kind of go over our highlights and takeaways from the Raw reunion down in Tampa, and I have some other good guests coming up. And I've got some good things going on that I can't drop on you now, but are in development that I think you'll dig. Anyway, I digress. I'll get out of it here, and I'll kick off the podcast. This is myself, and on Twitter, he is at Mex Warrior, I think Twitter and Instagram. He worked with all the Glow girls in the training sequences and directed those sequences while they were filming Glow. This is me and Chavo shooting the breeze and drinking ice-cold Los Guerreros fine Mexican lager. And don't forget to check out my show every Monday after Raw on USA Network. Next Monday, Sal Vulcano is my guest from Impractical Jokers. Bottom line. As the month of August continues on, the action across the sports world continues to heat up with Major League Baseball getting down to the wire and the UFC with some great fights on the horizon. Over in Major League Baseball, the Yankees, Twins, and Astros are leading the pack in the American League. In the National League, the Dodgers, Cubs, and Braves are all dominating. With only 2 more months left in the season, it's do or die time. There's only one place that has you covered and one place we trust, betonline.ag. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use a promo code PodcastOne, or text BET now to 238-669 to receive a 50% welcome bonus. That's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partners of Podcast One Sportsnet.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Let's talk beer. I've got a badass beer in front of me. This is called, let me look at this. Dude, when I saw the artwork, I think you might have posted this on Instagram or something. I don't know where I saw it.
Right.
Los Guerreros, Alcosta Brewing Company.
Alasta Brewing Company.
Alasta. Viva la Raza. Dude, the artwork on this skull is premier. Who did that?
So a guy named Peter Bergman does a bunch of artwork for all the wrestlers, and kind of a wrestling fan, but he's a great artist. And he had sent me the skull before, like maybe for a T-shirt or something like that. But then when the beer came around, I go, hey, man, you mind if I use it for that? He's like, absolutely. And there you go. It's pretty cool, right?
What made you? Oh, dude, if I'm putting it over, that's a damn good skull.
So you look at, like, in the skull, you got, like, the wrestling room my grandfather invented, which was the Gory Special. Then you got the frog splash up there, that he used to do. It says Guerrero. It says warrior. So Guerrero means warrior in English. And then you got the Chavo and the Villa Raza. And so it's Los Guerreros Mexican-style lager by Alasta Brewing Company. It's a Mexican-style lager like a Corona Modelo Dos Equis. But because, you got your own beer out, because it's a craft brew, they use all the best ingredients and they only make it super high class. And of course, they come in 4-packs, not 6-packs, right?
Yeah.
All high class, right? And there it is. It tells a little story of the Guerreros on the background. It's got a little signature of me right there. And
Yeah, it's a 4-pack, but that's a 16-ounce can.
16
Here's
ounce
the thing,
can, yep.
and I'm with El Segundo Brewing Company right down the road, and there's a learning curve once you get in the beer business. Because I've been on the consuming end of the beer business for a long ass time, and when you first come out with beer, and here's very prevalent in the California craft beer scene is the 22-ounce bombers.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it's very cost effective, and not all these beers go into a 12-ounce format, into a can or bottle, because that increases the expense.
absolutely.
So anyway, mine is still in the 22-ounce bomber. I just got finished talking to the owner the other day. I think we're fixing to go into cans and fixing to go into a 6-pack format. And that's what everybody wants these days. Now, a few years ago, it was all about the bombers, because you could buy the 22-ounce, and not take a risk on getting 6 bad beers,
Right.
and then just have the one. And it was kind of a specialty thing.
Yeah.
But now it's going back to just like it always has been. It's about the 6-pack.
It changes, man. It changes. So this beer is going to be at the LA County Fair.
Okay. Now, where can people find this beer? Because mine is supposed to be all over California, but you'll have a hard time finding it in Northern California. You will find it almost everywhere in SoCal at Whole Foods and Total Wines. Where's yours available
mine
at?
is at mine, besides being at the breweries, of course, is at, if you go to craftbeerkings.com,
Yep.
yours is there also. I saw yours there. And they'll ship it anywhere in the United States, continental United States to you, and you buy it there. So Craft Beer Kings is a rival to Bevmo and all those guys, and they have a huge beer selection. Great beer, cigar selection, wine selection. They're better than all those guys. Like much bigger selection, and they have it there, and it's still well. The first batch sold out.
Okay,
Gone.
well, let me ask you something before I take a swig of this beer. What was your hand in creating this beer?
Just ideas. What I liked. What we kicked some things back around. I know on the first podcast we didn't know which way we were going to go yet with it, but we ended up going with the Mexican style lager. Go figure, maybe me Mexican. So there you go. And it's, something that I drink all the time, anyways. Like my go-to drink beer was like a Corona Light. I drink those a lot, or like a a Dos Equis type thing. So something that I like, that I drink, and we kind of went that way with it. Our brewer, Herb, is like a master brewer. He was one of the first guys to start doing craft beers down in the 80s when you couldn't get all that stuff, and so he just came up with this really awesome recipe. All their beers there are great, and that's the reason why I went with Alasta, because their beers they're phenomenal. Like every beer I had was like, wow. Then they'd have like Valentine Day beers where it was like, it had like a hint of cherry and chocolate in it. Like this guy's knows his stuff. So I told him what I kind of wanted, an idea, and he came up with something great. He added his own Yucatan sea salt to it. And brother, I'm telling you, I will put this beer up against any Mexican lager out there. I don't care, craft beer or not. I'm telling you. So tell me good, your honest opinion. If you don't like it, we'll fight. But no, I'm just kidding. I have a couple sips of that thing.
Man, first off, that's just a nice, cold, smooth beer, real easy on the palate. I don't speak beer lingo. I don't have a glass that I'm pouring this into. This is going to be great on a real hot day. It's great here in an air-conditioned room. If you were to be out on a golf course trying to drink a 6-7 Broken Skull IPA, you're going to get your ass handed to you. So a lot of times when you see like people out there with the Corona Lights and the light beers, and this
is a 5% alcohol, 5% per volume, so you can drink them. I like to drink beers. I don't like to drink one. I like to drink.
Right.
Eight.
Those back in the days, I don't know if you remember, or if you're old enough to remember, in the mid-'90s or early 90s when all the ice beers came out.
Yeah.
And I was with WCW.
Ice. Yep.
And for when they hit, they were the rage. It was Red Dog. Remember Red Dog?
Red Dog. I do remember a Red Dog.
It was Bud Ice.
Bud Ice.
Bud Ice.
Bud Ice.
And all those beers, and it was like, hey, man.
Ice, yeah.
And people are like, hey, I can get messed up faster. And then people are like, man, but I like to drink all day.
Yeah.
So this is a healthy beer at 5.0.
Yeah.
At 6.7, mine's a little on the stout side.
Yeah.
But, you kind of sip those because it is a heavier beer.
Hey, the last time I was here, I drank your beer, and it was great.
Yeah.
After a few of them, I was feeling it. But
dude, I went down to Victoria to visit my family a while back, and I was hanging at this restaurant. We found a Mongolian barbecue in Victoria, Texas, which I didn't think existed. And so, man, all they had was regular light beer. So I drank a couple of Bud Lights. And the good thing about it was, you could drink, 3 or 4 of them and still drive.
Yeah, you'd be
and
fine.
I'm not telling anybody to go out and drink and drive.
Right.
But you drink 3 or 4 of mine, you're not going to drive.
Yeah.
So there is a time and a place for it. No, it's a good beer.
Right? You like it?
Yeah.
Refreshing. Yeah.
Here's the thing: when you're at your house, will you still drink the Corona, or you go to Los Guerreros?
If I have Los Guerreros, I'll drink Los Guerreros. But what happens is I end up drinking them all the time, so they're gone. And then sometimes I'll start rationing them because they're craft brew. They're not. It's not everywhere. Like I don't have them just a plethora of them. I can't just go down to the store and just grab them all the time. So sometimes I'm like, all right, who's over the house? Okay, I'll give you one.
Did you ever figure he's going to be in the beer market?
Shit, no. I didn't think I was
cool?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, half the things I did, I didn't know I was going to be doing I think last time we were here, I won a SAG with Glow. So I got a big Glow, SAG at the house. We won the Emmy for the stunts. I didn't know I was going to do half the stuff. I was just going to be a wrestler. My dream would just be a wrestler. That's all I was going to do.
Same with me.
I'm just going to be a wrestler. Are you kidding me? I wanted to be I wanted to do 2 things. I want to be a pro wrestler and on the off season, but play for the Dallas Cowboys. That was my plan, but I think my height and size and athletic ability changed my plan, so I just became a pro wrestler.
But you know what? That was funny because when I first got into business, man, that's all I wanted to be, was just be a pro wrestler. Really? But then all of a sudden you get in it and like, okay, well, how far can you take it, or how long can you last? And so your goals change once you get in it. But just as a kid, that's all I wanted to be, was a pro wrestler.
You never thought you don't think outside of wrestling because you love wrestling, get consumed by it. I'm a 3rd generation pro wrestler. Grew up with a wrestling ring in my backyard. We had promotions, and I worked, setting up rings and selling popcorn, selling 8x10s for my dad, all that kind of stuff back in the day. It was just wrestling. But now wrestling is so big. It's so pop culture and bigger than just the ring. So if you're just thinking, I just want to be a wrestler, now you're thinking small time. There's so much more you can do with it. Now breaking into Hollywood, having your own beer, those Guerrero families. I mean, it's known, throughout 3 different generations, throughout different countries. The WWE TV is so strong. I'm walking down the street in India, and people recognizing you. Hey, Chavo. It's crazy. You get that everywhere you go. You're a very, very well recognized person that you have to be able to break it, and you have to be able to parlay that into other things.
Here's my question. You have kids, right?
Yeah.
How many?
I got 2 boys, 19 and 16.
Okay, here's my question. Are they going to be 4th generation Guerreros in the wrestling business?
Yeah. No. Right now, my oldest is going to college. He's at NAU, which is Northern Arizona University.
Congrats.
My youngest is a junior in high school, getting ready to go into it. He wants to write screenplays.
Beautiful.
So as far, they liked wrestling back when they're younger. Right now, they don't really want to do that. They want one going to get a business degree. The other one wants to write screenplays. So I'm happy for that. This business, as awesome as it is, and I absolutely love it, it's a tough business with no guarantee. And there's a lot of 2nd, 3rd generation wrestlers out there that never made it.
And I think it's a tougher business. In some ways, I think it was the grind physically on the human body has always been tough, but it's tougher now just because of the corporate part of it and the micromanagement, and that's on all levels.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing at the big dog on Monday and Tuesday night.
Sure.
And when you're putting something on TV, you got to know what you're putting on TV. I mean, because there's that much control. Because networks now want to know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So I don't think there's the freedom that existed back, the days before us, and the Brody days, and even the Attitude Era. A lot of freedom there.
Right.
But these days, they want to know exactly what they're going to get because they want to be able to predict. What's going to happen. And to that point, there still needs to be the spontaneity and anything can happen feel to it. They've got to build that part back in. I want to go back into a discussion about the business.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, and I'm just coming up with all this as we now started drinking beer. The Guerrero name, the Von Erich name, famous wrestling families.
The Funks, the Ortons, the Rhodes.
Any more?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
But I'm just trying. I mean, the Guerreros is up there.
Yeah.
Von Erichs is up there. Funks is up there. Rhodes is obviously up there. Yeah. That's all upper echelon stuff.
Yeah, man, it's something that
You gotta be proud of that, right?
I'm very proud. I'm very proud of like Hank Jr. says. I'm very proud of my daddy's name. Yeah, right. So although his kind of music and mine ain't exactly the same. So That's one thing,
That was the world's worst rendition of Hank Jr.
But in this room right now, it was the best rendition. So for sure, that's something that I always loved that song. Like growing up and traveling with my dad, I remember going to Florida, and when he was wrestling for Dusty in FCW, and all around Florida, and traveling with him. And I remember that tape. There was 2 tapes. There was the Hank Williams Jr.'s greatest hit and David Allan Cole's greatest hits, and the thing was in there all the time. Now they loved Willie and they loved Cash and they loved Waylon, but the outlaw, those 2 outlaw right there that didn't go to the Grand Ole Opry was Hank Williams Jr. and Waylon and David Allan Cole, right? I remember traveling with those guys and hearing those songs, and then being a kid and seeing these larger than life guys they take me to the bars and talk to the guy and get me into sidebar, and I kind of be just hanging out there, just, hey, keep it on the down low. Okay. It was different. It was early 80s. It was a different time. And, I'd see these larger than life guys that were just, nobody messed with them because they're bigger than everybody else. There was no MMA. They could beat everybody up. They were beer drinking, cussing, whatever guys, chewing tobacco, and they were just bigger than everybody.
The boys.
They're the boys, you know what I mean? And I miss that. That's one thing I miss about not being in the business all the time, being on the road all the time, is the camaraderie with the boys. Luke Gallows, Luke Gallows?
Oh, yeah.
So he called me one time, and it was Valentine's Day this year, and he calls me, goes, "Hey, you by Costa Mesa, California?" I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty close to there. I'm in town." I said, "It's Valentine's Day, right?" He goes, crap." He goes, "Us single guys, we don't know that." I said, hold on a second. So I had gone out to sushi with my wife, and we've been married a long time, so there's no, it's like whatever.
I feel you.
So we get home, and I go, "Hey, my friend, she's in town. We might go hang out." She's like, "I don't care. I'm going to bed." I'm like, "All right." So I go, "Hey, brother, I'm on my way." So I met him at some little dive bar right around the corner from where he was staying at. And, we're going to have a beer. About 8 shots of Jack later, about 10 beers. 2:00 closed down. I'm moving home. Man, it was just great. I miss the boys. I miss doing that. We did that. We used to do that every night, and then get up in the morning and train and wrestle and do it again and do it again. It's something that, so like my son right now, my oldest is in college at NAU. Like I said, I went down for Father's Day weekend at his fraternity. He's in Delta Chi. He's a Delta Chi guy. So, hey, this is right by alley, right? I'm walking, he's in this fraternity house, and a lot of the dads are kind of like, business guys are kind of hanging out there. Well, shit, I'm doing keg stands with the guys. One night they had this bottle of Black Velvet, and I'm like, what is this crap? Black Velvet whiskey? So we're passing it around. I go, "Okay, guys, every time I do a shot of whiskey, I'm going to tell you this, and anybody's doing it with me, you got to do this." And this is for Kurt Henning. Kurt Henning, every time he bought me a shot of whiskey, we gargled it. So they're like, what? Oh, my God. I got these guys gargling whiskey. So the next night, I go buy a handle of Crown. They're like, "Mr. Guerrero, this is the best alcohol we've had in this fraternity ever." So then, I'm passing it around. We're at the fraternity. Everything's good. All these random, beautiful 20-year-old girls are just walking in. "Hey, what's up, guys?" They're walking out and just stuff. I'm like, I look at my son. I go, "You do this every weekend?" And he's like, "Every weekend, Dad." I go, "Well, no wonder you don't want to come home." I go, "Bro, you enjoy this because the real world is not like this, but enjoy it." All of his fraternity brothers, they're hanging out. They're playing games, and, the fraternity house is a dive. They're just all hanging out, and it's just such a good time. I go, "Man," "this is what it was like when I was on the road." I was on the road, although we had a little bit more money, but we was always with my bros, always hanging out. And I miss that.
The thing about when you used to cross paths, absolutely. But when you used to cross paths with Kurt Henning in the airport, you worked for a different federation. I was WCW and he was WWF, but he knew who I was. Of course, I knew who he was. It's Kurt Henning. And it's like, "Oh, come on, brother, come here." He was right to the bar in an airport. We're going the other way. He's going this way. But that was the deal. That was a Kurt Henning tradition. So, and his deal was, as you know, shot of Jack Daniels, gargle it, boom, going down the road. So that was one. I always hated running into Kurt. Well, I always loved it.
You loved
but I
it.
mean, you don't want to gargle Jack Daniels. But if you're doing a shot with Kurt, you had to. Going back to David Allan Coe, going back to that one song, The Ride. Mississippi Big Star Bound, let me warn you, it's a long, hard ride. That's just like the business. It's like those old songs from those soundtracks back in
Turn
the
the
day.
Page.
Turn
the Page by...
Yeah, Turn the Page, but Bob Seger. It's about being strung out on the road. And all those old songs, but they're songs that parallel the business.
One time, so we're in Europe, and it's me, Undertaker, a couple other people at the bar. It's about after a 3-week tour in Europe, and we're at the hotel bar, just hanging out there, and we're at just the hotel bar. There's nobody out there but the wrestlers, and we got this little boom box down there, a little playing our. Plugged before Bluetooth, I think we're plugged in our phones, and we're playing Kid Rock Picture and stuff, and we're just singing because we're missing home so much. We're so happy but so unhappy, and we're thinking, how can I be so happy being on the road but so unhappy that I'm not at home? And then I get home, and I'm so happy to be home, but I'm so unhappy not to be on the road with my boys and doing all this stuff. It's like it's such a catch-22, right? And I know you were talking about today. You're driving back and driving fast, or you don't drive fast, but everybody else is driving fast around you. People, some of my friends will ask, "Hey, let's go skydiving." I go, "I'm not going skydiving. I'm not doing that shit." My adrenaline, my job, whether it be a stunt guy, whether it be a wrestler. Man, my adrenaline gets going huge. I try to keep it down. That's not. Those are not my drugs of choice anymore. I'm trying to just chill. I want to relax on the couch and chill out. But I go. Don't get me wrong. I like getting that going, but I get it going all the time. It's not a weekend warrior like those guys are, right? Like just stuff about the business. This. I don't know if I told this story last time, but. The stuff like what I grew up on, the stories that my dad used to tell me. So he's in the airport, and some guy comes up to him and goes, "Hey, you Chavo Guerrero?" This is early 80s. And he's like, yeah. He goes, "Hey, man, can I get an autograph?" He goes, "Yeah, sure, no problem. So who should I make it out to?" The guy goes, "John Holmes." My dad goes, he looks at him and goes, "Holy shit, it's John Holmes. It's the real John Holmes." And he's like, my dad goes, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Oh, I'm going to Dallas." My dad's like, "I'm going to Dallas too." They're all on the same flight together. So they're on the same flight. They're sitting next to each other. They're drinking on the plane. And all of a sudden, remember guys, this is the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. This is before people knew that cocaine and steroids are bad for you. And the tray table comes down, and John Holmes whips out, breaks out a line right there on the plane. And my dad's like, "You can't do that." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, no one cares." And right there, before my dad's sad that he's leaving the home, and he's at the bar at the airport at LAX hanging out, and about 45 minutes later, he's on the plane doing lines with John Holmes on the airplane, and they're going to Dallas. So that's kind of what the stuff that happens to us on the road. Now, of course, things have changed. We don't do that with being now with this day and age. We know what's good for you, not good for you. But hey, we'll still drink a margarita or a beer or two, right?
Man, back in the day, I lived in the fast lane a little bit, but that was a long time ago. Things have settled down. Here's a question for you. When you got on the road, how long you been married?
I've been married about 8,000 years.
Okay.
Yeah, seems a lot. 21 years.
So how did you balance, your family life? Because like when I was on the road in WCW, first I had a wife and a daughter, and then I had a wife and 2 daughters, 4 years apart. And I was so hung up on being a pro wrestler. I tried to do my best,
of course,
at the house, but man, I always wanted to be on the road. And then on days off, it was really bad because you might get 2 days off. Right. Maybe there was 3, but I'd be home for like a day and a half or 2, and I was bored. I was ready to get back on the road with the boys. Sure. I missed out on a lot of stuff.
No, sure.
Were you like that? Or do you look back and say, man, I wasn't worth the shit. I was guilty. I mean, because people say, "Oh, man, I got in this business to make a better life for my family." I got in the business to be a pro wrestler. And with it came that territory. And same as a truck driver. Yeah. That's just what you do for a living so that you can provide for your family. Right. But to that point, to be on the road all the time, I think you have to have you have to be selfish.
You got to be a little bit, especially in this business. If you're not insane, you will never make it in this business, especially in that time.
Say that again.
If you are not insane, you will never make it in the wrestling business, at least when we broke in. That's just the way it was. And if you weren't insane, they'd run your ass right out of it. Michael Hayes, the Freebirds, and Brody and those guys, if you were not insane, you couldn't handle your own and represent the business in the way they thought it should be represented, you were not in this business. Or you were for a short time, and they'd kick your ass out of it. Just the way it went.
But guys in this business are wired different. It's like, I'm a huge MMA fan, so but I'm like, man, and my wife we'll be watching the fights, and shoot, Holly Holm was fighting Amanda Nunes just the other day. Man, took her out. Good fight, short fight. Yeah. Anyway, and she's like, even when the guys, she'll start watching, but when it really start getting heavy juice, heavy blood, then she'll stop watching. She goes, how do these people do this? I'm like, well, dude, that's how they're wired. They're very special people. And that's like anybody that does anything. Well, it's like the dudes that invented Facebook or computers or whatever. They're wired for that. We're wired for, and to me, I think the boys are, or at least our generation of boys, I know the guys, they're still out there doing their thing, right? Sure. But we got to keep that on the DL. But we're speaking for our days. Yeah. Hey, man.
There was no drug testing. Dude. There wasn't, you didn't know. You didn't know that.
Dude, you get introduced to a lot of things once you get in the business. Yeah. And it's kind of like you're learning on the fly. But it's a whole different world. And like you said, if you ain't wired for it, you will get weeded out.
So me growing up in the business, I had an advantage. So I saw what to do and what not to do. I saw what worked for my dad and what didn't work for my dad. So I saw that, first of all, it takes a super special woman to be able to handle our job. Super special. And even those special women don't make it. They remember. So my wife she not only had my grandmother, who was a wife of a wrestler, my mother, who was a wife of a wrestler, aunts who were wives of wrestlers, all pulled her aside and said, Are you sure you want to get into this? Because this is how it is. Yeah. You're going to be a single parent for about 15 years at least. You're going to be the mother and the father. And then after that, you'll be the mother and you'll be the babysitter to this guy who's still trying to keep in the business. That's the way it is.
You're right.
And it's like, and they're still chasing it. Once you become a wrestler, you never stop being a wrestler. And that's just the way it goes. I mean, you may retire, but you're always there. You're always a wrestler. And it's just your mentality. So, I mean, me living in Orange County now, like people there think, and I'm pretty low key. I was never one of those crazy ass dudes that was, balls to the wall all the time. I wasn't either. I compartmentalized it at times, and there's times you let loose and times you don't. I kept it in its place. But still, the people in Orange County, they think that I'm like insane. I'm like, you guys have no clue what insane is from one of the guys that I was with. Like, literally, like my wife and I were talking about alpha the other day. It's like, I grew up in locker rooms, and though that didn't even prepare me to being in the wrestling locker room. That story of Bill Watts used to tell all the wrestlers, go out. Have fun. Go to the bars. If you get in a fight, you better win because I can't have my wrestlers getting beat up by a guy in the bar. And so these guys,
damn sure not your top guy.
Yeah, exactly. You're representing his company. You're a pro wrestler, and all of a sudden you're getting beat up by some random guy in the bar in a tie. It ain't gonna happen. Now things have changed. I get it. Now it's very entertainment and stuff. But in a sense, you back in the day you weren't the champ unless you could handle yourself. Look at Harley Race. He was a man among men. When men were still men, that was the man, right? And Ric Flair told me a story from his mouth. Ric Flair said he was going over to Japan. Ric Flair's the champ at the time, the NWA champion. He's going over to Japan to go, fight, Tenryu or somebody over there. And he gets on the plane, and Harley's on the plane. He goes, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I'm going to Japan." Well, why? He goes, "I'm here to protect you." Because over there, the mentality is that if they could take the strap off of you, they would take the strap off of you. You really had to be the champ. You had to be able to handle yourself. But at the same time, if you could handle yourself too much, you weren't the champ. Like a Billy Robinson, they were scared that if they ever put the strap on Billy Robinson, who was a shooter back in the day, you guys, anybody who's listening, he was a guy that was a super big shooter, like a hooker shooter. There's different terminology.
Could really mess you up.
Yeah. But
if he didn't want to drop the belt, he wouldn't have dropped the belt.
So now he's got the promoters by the ball. So you had to have somebody who was tough, but it would still do business. It was like such a catch, 22 guys like Danny Hodge. Danny Hodge was never a big guy. He was like, 5'10" at his best, I don't know, what was he? At 200 maybe?
Maybe.
205
Yeah.
maybe at his best, but was a Golden Glove boxer and a Olympic wrestler.
With insane grip strength.
Yeah, he used to get. This is a guy that used to go to like the
Hardware
store and grab a pair of pliers and just break the pliers and go, hey, I think these pliers are broken. Give me another set. And just break them. He'd break the walnuts in his hands. He just you couldn't. He was a guy with like a double tendons in his thumb that you couldn't get his grip off you. So, anyways, this guy, and he's the nicest guy in the world. This is a guy who's got cookbooks out because he loves cooking. He's just the nicest guy in the world, but we'll kill you. And those are the guys that we dealt with, and we've talked about that before, to where, like, I always feel I can handle myself, no problem in a situation. And then I got in this business, and you got guys like Scott Norton and Mark Henry that would grab me and crush me like a grape in no time whatsoever. And you're back to life real fast. Like, wow, I guess, what's that song by, Back to Life, Back to Reality.
Hey, what was your take on Harley Race? Because Ric Flair, I heard the same story when it was Japan. They sent Harley there to make sure that they weren't trying to screw Rick. But I just heard that he was just as tough as nails guy.
Yeah.
And you never saw Harley in the gym. He always smoked. And when he talked,
I love that story.
He never talked any louder than this.
That's right. I love that story where you told where he adjusted your neck.
Oh my God!
About ripped your head off.
But I heard he was wicked nasty. I mean, by looking at the guy, just the eyeball test, you think, okay, first of all, he does look tough. He had them fucking pork chop sideburns,
right?
And he looked tough, tats on his arms. But you wouldn't think he's not all yoked up.
So I knew Harley later on in his life, so he was always a very nice, very great, nice man to me. But the stories that I've heard is that he had a steel plate in his left arm, and from a motorcycle accident, and it would go shake. If he didn't like you, he'd shake your hand with his right hand, and they would bust your face open with his left hand, and your face would explode, would just like boom, explode. And if he really didn't like you, after he knocked you out, he'd step on your head and reach down and grab your hair and rip your hair out and drop it on your head. That's the kind of guy he was. That's the kind of guys we worked with. My Uncle Mondo tells a story to where one night he was wrestling in a town, and the main event, they're supposed to wrestle Harley, wasn't there. So Harley, who knew my grandfather and my family, goes, I want to wrestle the kid. So asked to wrestle my Uncle Mondo. And my Uncle Mondo was a smaller guy, but real feisty. He always had a chip on his shoulder ready to go. The small man's complex, like all the Guerreros have. We're always like, we always think we're bigger than we are. We always wake up with a sore jaw and go, God, I thought I was bigger than that. But so Mondo was really one of those guys, and wrestled Harley. He said, man, he was great. He just led him through the match. Great match afterwards. And afterwards, they had to drive to the next town. And Mondo goes, Harley goes, you're driving with me, kid. So they driving in a car, and back in the 80s, the speedometer only went to 85. Even though the car would go, 120, 130, it only went to 85. So my Uncle Mondo never knew how fast they were going because it was pinned 85 the whole time. And his job was to pop open the beer and put a little bit of Clamato juice, into it for Harley. And he said he must have drank, 15 beers. Because, again, late 70s, early 80s, they do a different deal back then. And Harley would never get drunk. Was just a guy that would just a tough as nails.
And I don't know how Harley never did get pulled over, because there was a time when I was riding with Harley and Vader was riding shotgun. Harley was driving. I was in the back seat. I've told the story before. I'll tell it again because I'm talking to you.
Please.
Vader's job was, as soon as Harley finished a beer and crushed it and handed it to Vader needed to have a beer open, turned in the right direction, so he could hand it to Harley and Harley could take a swig out of it. That was his job.
Yeah.
And, and he did it. And, God rest his soul, Vader's, Leon is no longer with us, but, he was just a badass guy.
Make sure to stick around after this podcast to get the latest headlines from the AP News Minute.
Everyone knows the risk of driving drunk. You could get in a crash, people could get hurt or killed. But let's take a moment to look at some surprising statistics. Almost 29 people in the United States die every day in alcohol-impaired vehicle crashes. That's one person every 50 minutes. Even though drunk driving fatalities have fallen by a third in the last 3 decades, Drunk driving crashes still claim more than 10,000 lives each year. Drunk driving can have a big impact on your wallet, too. You could get arrested and incur huge legal expenses, and you could possibly even lose your job. So, what can you do to prevent drunk driving? Plan a safe ride home before you start drinking. Designate a sober driver or call a taxi. And if someone you know has been drinking, take their keys and arrange for them to get a sober ride home. We all know the consequences of driving drunk, but one thing's for sure. You're wrong if you think it's no big deal. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Hey, Jordan here. I know a lot of you create your own podcasts, and a lot of you already have one like me. I obviously love what I do. It's taken a lot of hard work to get to this point of success. You shouldn't have to pay fees for platform hosting, distribution, analytics, or fees to create a podcast. You need to be able to focus on producing the best show possible. Now, PodcastOne, that's the network I'm on, they have Launchpad Digital Media, or Launchpad DM for short. So it's free, includes unlimited hosting, full control of distribution. You have access to a full dashboard with analytics. Again, totally free. You own everything, by the way. You own your content, you own your subscribers, no tricky stuff there. And you get your own show page on launchpaddm.com for people to listen to and subscribe to your show. It's the only hosting platform brought to you by the leading network, PodcastOne. PodcastOne will promote the site, drive people to discover your podcast, and if your show grows, you could even be invited to join PodcastOne's all-star roster, which includes people like Adam Carolla, Caitlin Bristow, Shaq, Lady Gang, and of course me, Jordan Harbinger. I'm there too. You also get access to their production and sales support. So with all this completely free, don't use other hosting platforms. Why would you need to? Learn more or sign up now at launchpaddm.com. And don't forget to check out The Jordan Harbinger Show.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
First time in my podcasting career, my batteries ran dead and stopped recording. I'm drinking my second Los Guerreros Mexican-style lager. This is a damn good beer. 5% alcohol, 16 fluid ounces. Keep refrigerated. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. Chavo sitting across my table from me. Living a life of two former professional wrestlers.
That's true, man. It's a good life, man. I think we did something right, man. We did something right either in a previous life or I don't know.
No, I think I screwed up the other one. This is my payback.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Who's your favorite professional wrestler of all time?
Great question. Man, and not just because he's a good friend of mine and I do love him to death. Man, I always love Ric Flair. Ric Flair can kind of do it all to me, in a sense. There's other people, man, like, and I never worked with him, but he's a good friend of mine, Rocky. I love Rock. Rock was great. For me, I think he was very athletic, was great on the mic. He could go. Those guys that I'm talking about are just different. Just a different time, different era. You were excellent in yourself, or you were and not just saying because I'm here on your podcast, you're good. If you watch anything with this guy back in the day, man, he could move. And then you put his persona on top of it, that's just gold.
But to me, Flair's a guy for me too, just because, like, there's a reason he was a world champion as many times as he was,
and traveled the world and went to different organizations and worked with a different person every night in a different organization.
To me, he exemplified what the sport was all about,
absolutely,
or what the game was all about.
Sure.
I mean, dude, I'm talking about between the ropes,
for sure.
And doing 6-minute Broadways damn near every single night and representing that belt and going all over, really all over the world. But then living the lifestyle on top of it, and people say, "Oh man, he didn't need to do that." No, well, if you're one of us,
that's what you did.
That's what you did.
Yeah, we're talking about our forever, our
and
being
how
in the business.
In the hell did he manage to look so good after doing all the things he did? Always showed up in a badass, nicely pressed suit. Looked like a man box. I heard Terry Taylor.
And remember, he was a 300-pound guy when you first started, and then getting down to, the guy's got abs. It's crazy, right?
Terry Taylor told me he was working with Ric Flair in New Orleans, and Flair got to the building late, and he was hungover. And Terry goes over to talk to him about the match, and Ric Flair says, "Hey, man, go get me a cup of coffee." Kind of offended Terry, but again, you're talking about Nature Boy Ric Flair. So what are you going to do? He's the Nature Boy. So he goes to get you a cup of coffee. I would have done the
same thing, Terry.
Yeah. So he gets him a cup of coffee. He's a little put off. Yeah. And so Flair drinks a cup of coffee, and, say 3 words about the match, and all of a sudden they go out there, and Terry's like, "Oh, man, what am I going to get out of this guy, or what you going to get out of me?" And Flair's a world champion. And he's Ric Flair. And Terry, I guess they were doing some kind of Broadway, or I think he was going to take the fall on Terry. And he goes 15 or 20 20 minutes or 25, whatever, however many minutes in. I can't remember the story I told on the podcast, but Terry was begging him just to finish the match. Let's go home. So Flair showed up, just a pile of shit, and all of a sudden when that bell rang, mister, you better have your boots on because Flair had lungs for days.
Absolutely. You know who else was one of my favorites and maybe gets overlooked at times, but was a guy that kind of, to me, had everything, was Barry Windham.
Oh, absolutely.
Barry Windham, he had the size. Man, I watched a young Barry Windham go, man, this guy was so incredible, man. He wasn't a political guy. I think that's what kind of was what messed him up a little bit. He wasn't the guy that's going to, fight for a spot. He's like, what are you going to do? Okay, just put me in the ring. Just give me 45 minutes. Let me go do my thing. That guy everything he did was incredible.
There was a period there for about a 2-year stretch when he was the best in the world.
Right.
And, a lot of people don't remember when he used to step through that ring. Yeah. Dude, he stepped from the floor to the apron to glide through,
he was a
second,
massive
third.
6'6", right?
Oh, yeah, but he was just so graceful.
Yeah.
And I think Arn Anderson did an interesting job of summing him up. And, Barry was so giving to me. I really owe that guy, a debt of gratitude because when I was working with that guy for the TV championship, man, there's a couple times I hit him with some stray clotheslines, and I still have an imprint of his teeth here on my hand, throwing an errant clothesline. Yeah, right. And, he's bleeding. He didn't say shit. He said, "It's okay, kid." But Arn Anderson said, man, Barry had $500 in his back pocket and a good-looking girl. He was happy.
Yeah, man.
And he always had $500, and he was an attractive guy, and the women loved him.
Women loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was, God, it was so good. But there was a lot of guys of that era like that could just, man, they were not just tough, but just good guys and could go for days.
What was your thoughts on Swig a Beer? Captain Redneck Dick Murdoch.
Best punch of the business. Best punch of the business. He was a guy that wasn't a body guy. Was tough as nails. He was a second-generation wrestler also, I believe, wasn't he? Yeah, I know he was because I'll tell you what, Dick Murdoch, when he was a kid, there's a story. I think, okay, so for all y'all know, my father, before he died, wrote a book. I'm in the middle of finishing it for him right now as far as editing and stuff, and it's really, really cool. It's a really great book. It's, it's not a promotion book, so it tells the real story. I always say that there's always anytime somebody comes out with a book from a federation or a promotion, sometimes it's, the filtered story because of, and I totally get it, but, because protecting the promotion, my dad's was just an independent book and kind of tells a story. So there's a story of a reason why Dick Murdoch and my dad didn't get along. And my dad was like, "Wait, what? Why? Why didn't we get along? Why?" No. And one time they're in a car together. They're driving together and they're being quiet. And my dad, if there's an elephant in the room, he was a guy that would just address it right away. And he goes, "Why don't you like me? What's going on? Is it because I'm Mexican?" That's my dad. And so you got Dick going, "No. When we were kids and your dad brought you over to my house in West Texas and we're hanging out, you killed my dog." And my dad goes, "What dog? What are you talking about, your dog?" And he's like, "Yeah, your dog, you left, my dog died because you guys fed it something." And my dad's going, "We didn't give it anything. What are you talking about?" "Well, my dog died when you guys left." So Dick, ever since they were kids, held that grudge against my dad. After that, I think they kind of straightened out. They were never the best of friends. But Dick Murdoch, man, back to your question, that guy could go. He was a tough SOB and was one of the best punches in the business.
Well, tell me about this book that's coming out.
So this book, we're just finishing it right now. Just kind of, putting the finishing touches as far as it's my dad's story and he wrote it and the whole deal. I just, just edit in the middle of editing it, and making it, putting out the book that my dad wanted to be put out. My dad he was an 80s guy and told it like it is. So there was a time when Steve Kern one time asked me, he goes, "Hey," I was talking to one of the other agents. Steve Kern comes up and goes, "Hey, you trust that guy?" I was like, "Hell no. I don't trust any of you guys." He goes, I got the inside scoop of every one of you guys, and I know who's good guys and who's not. And Steve looked at me, kind of winked, and goes, yeah, all right, good. Because I got the true story. And that's the reason why I always loved Curt Hennig, because now, of course, the Guerreros were biased in a lot of ways. But there's times they tell you, that guy's a good guy. No, that guy's a POS. They always said Curt Hennig, that guy's second generation, he's great. So when I met Curt, already I liked him. And, I got the blessing of the Guerreros. So the thing go back to Dick, so I kind of knew about that. I knew about Curt. I knew about all those guys. I knew about Hayes. I knew about all those guys, You know who doesn't get his just due is Fit Finlay.
Dude, he's one of my favorite workers. Are you kidding me? But I agree. He's underappreciated, but he's one of my favorites.
Was a guy that made it look believable, because he was believable. He was a tough guy. He was a guy that back in the day when they go to a bar in in Germany, and the guy would say, "Oh, is wrestling real?" and Phil would go, "Yeah, well, I don't know, not really. Let me see your thumb. Get the thumb, break the guy's thumb, just break his thumb." And the guy, and Phil would go, "How's that? Is that real?"
And the thing about Fit, because he's what, second or third himself?
He's I believe I know he's a second for sure. I don't know. He's
second for sure, but I know it's either or. But it's like, dude, when you're at that level, and especially coming from there, even you too, dude, you take the business at a very serious level, because that is where everything comes from.
Absolutely.
And so at that time, man, if somebody said something about the business, that's what happened. But what I always loved about Fit was, especially when he's working heel, as Baby, he's a great worker any way you slice it. But I loved just his demeanor, his intent to harm, the way with which he executed his offense or a hold to try to hurt you. Yeah. He didn't have a tremendous move set, like doing a bunch of crazy stuff. It was just his intent to harm, and that's what I liked about him. He had a mean streak.
When he first came to WCW, he still had the long hair and the mustache, and him and Steve... Regal was already there, but him and Dave Taylor came in. Dave Taylor. These English guys that were just so good at wrestling. So Fit's in there, and I remember him working Chris Benoit one time, and Benoit chopped the crap out of him, who he did to everybody. He chopped him right in the chest. Now, it's hard you hold your chest, like something, it's hard to people to register that, because you get hit in your chest, kind of like, I always say, hey, hit me in my chest, in my back, hit me as hard as you can, hard in safe places, we always say. But I remember him getting chopped in his chest and him holding like the bottom of his chin one time, like boom, and he got chopped and kind of sold like this. He believed it the way he sold it, it was like wow, like that was real. Wow, that was incredible. And being in WCW when they were there, and Arn Anderson, who was an agent in WCW, after one of Fit's matches, Arn came up to Fit and goes, "Sir, it's a pleasure watching you work." That still sticks to me from this day, because I was, thought Arn was just, Arn was so good, very underrated wrestler, but so good. And to see that, to have him sit there and say, "Fit, it's a pleasure watching you work," I was like, wow, this guy to I emulate, But those were one of my teachers. My teachers were Malenko, Benoit, Eddie, Regal, Finlay. Those are the guys that I grew up with, that I was close to, that, would get me in the ring, beat me up, but would teach me. That's how I learned.
Dude, I watched some of those matches between Malenko and Eddie in Japan, because we was on that tour that I talked about a while ago, several podcasts ago. Yeah. But also watching the matches Eddie and Malenko had in ECW.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, man, just instant classics. Just wrestling personified, hold for hold, and tremendous spots that meant something at the right time. Yeah. And the big send-off when, they both left, or whatever the story was there. But, yeah, those guys were magic together.
Yeah, for sure. Eddie was, man, and it's a shame that, in a sense, and it's a shame that Eddie had to die for him to get the recognition that he got. Because when he was alive, he wasn't necessarily, he was considered a great wrestler, but he wasn't considered one of the best of all time. Now that he's passed, I hear it all the time. Oh, he's one of the best of all time, one of the best of all time. I was like, well, he'd been here before, and then the stuff that I saw with him, with Rock just posted something on his Instagram, and it was a thing with Eddie, and God, he was just so good. And Eddie, and I had this talk with his daughter, Shaw, the other day, was married to Aiden English from WWE, and I said, man, I go, your dad, he was a Outside of the ring, he was kind of like, yeah, whatever, kind of like, kind of like, whatever, kind of just go through life, kind of. But in that ring, he was a wrestling genius. When he was on, he was on. Like, you work with him for a little bit.
Yep.
He was on, like super on. Like, man, when he was on, his instincts were I'd put him up there with anybody.
And your different stops along the way throughout your career.
For sure.
And being third generation, what were some of the pivotal pieces of advice or things that people told you along the way, whether it's from the beginning, the middle, or at the end, or self-recognition things where you think, hey, man, this is what you do? Because I always ask people, back in the day when I first started podcasts, hey, man, what was your key to getting over? Yeah. I always want to hear people's different take on getting over, their thoughts. So, but just along the way, what bits of information do you think helped you get to where you were at as far as an understanding of the business and be able to do all the things you've done within a television standpoint, performance in the ring, and then with Glow and directing and all the stuff that you're doing now?
I think, to me, one of the biggest things is that you never stop learning. Once you think that you know it all, now you go backwards. Once you think, I'm here, I've made it, then you go backwards. You never stop learning and striving to be better. So yeah, I learn every single match I get in that ring, whether I wrestle Ric Flair or wrestle some guy in an indie circuit. I learn every single match. I learn, and I just knowing that it's a constant learning process, and one match gets you ready for the next match, and the next match, and the next match. One set gets you ready for the next set. One show gets you ready for the next show. It's everything. All the stuff you learn, you're constantly learning. You're constantly processing and getting better, but evolving. You're evolving. If you look at something that I tell, not students, but if I'm doing a seminar, you got guys that, like Undertaker. When Undertaker first started his career as The Undertaker, his character, it evolved. And where he is now is, it's gone 20 different places. It just happened. But whatever that's at, whatever the people are demanding or basically what's going to make them pop is where you go. Not everybody can be the Brock Lesnar, the Batista, the Stone Cold Steve Austin. Not everybody could be the champ. You in a sense, what Rock says, you always know your role, but you come in and you just roll with it, and you make the lemonade out of lemons. You gotta get that a lot. I get that in life. It's not like all of a sudden people give me, hey, you got this stunt coordination on Glow. Here you go. You're gonna be able to, or whatever. Sometimes you get, I'm falling out of a truck on Criminal Minds. Well, let me do that the best I can. And that morphed into something else, and that morphed into something else. So, for example, I got a job. My whole stunt career started because I got a job on Grimm, which was an NBC show. They brought me in to do this Grimm show that had a wrestler that was turned into like a demon and type thing. So the stunt coordinator, Matt Taylor, and the fight coordinator, Mike Smith, they said, hey, they called me. I don't know how they got my number. Maybe they got a few different numbers, but they called me. They said, can you do this? Yeah, absolutely. So we want to bring you in. You're going to double the main character. No, I'm sorry. You're going to be a co-star on the show, and you're going to play your own role. But also, you're going to we need help coordinate the wrestling in there. We don't know wrestling. I said, okay, no problem. So we did that. And from that morphed into, they were members of Stunts Unlimited, a stunt group. So they're like, Chavo, we want you to be in Stunts Unlimited because, first of all, you're Hispanic. Second of all, you're very specialized because you're a wrestler. We don't have a lot of wrestlers in there. Wrestling. So they brought me into Stunts Unlimited. I didn't know what it was. And all of a sudden, it's this biggest stunt group in Hollywood. They brought me in that. And that just morphed into other things. And then when I got a call from Glow out of the blue, I was like, well, call. You want a reference? Call Matt Taylor, call Mike Smith. They called them, got the interview. I had an interview in front of 10 other people, and I did. Got the job, and that went there. And then now from that, other things have morphed, like other movie things and other things that, because of the fact that, that's a good sound right there. That's a damn good sound. But other things morph from that because of just doing that one show. So you're constantly learning. Always. I learn every single night I'm in the ring. And I don't want to wrestle all the time. I still like to get in the ring and mix it up a little bit. I don't necessarily do a WrestleMania match every single night. You know, I'm not doing that kind of stuff because now we get injured. I get injured now, and it takes me a lot longer to get over it. But just get in the ring and just playing. So
let's move on because I'm on my go home beat right now, and I still got to get a workout in. As you listen to this podcast, it's right after I appeared at Monday Night Raw in July 22nd in Tampa, Florida. So I got my workout in, even though I probably had a buzz. We were talking last time you was over there, man. You and I have a lot in common. And you sent me a text message a while back. Y'all was going to go do a celebration. Y'all was going to do some RVing or some boating in the river.
Oh, that's coming.
And I was doing some other things, so I never got back to you. But, man, I've been riding my buggies.
Yeah, I see that.
I ride my side-by-sides out there in Nevada. I'm doing a lot of exploring, driving around.
Who's you guys, Kawasaki?
Yeah. Man, I got a Kawasaki Terex. I got my mules.
Nice.
They got their new side-by-side that's coming out. That's going to be their badass version. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Check that out.
But my point is not to go down that road, but I've been doing a lot of riding. I know you enjoy shooting, riding motorcycles, and boating, so camping. So have you been doing any of that?
Yeah, man. So we got every Thanksgiving coming. You know, we got Thanksgiving coming up again. We always go out to the middle of the desert, the middle of the Mojave Desert. We probably go out with like about 8, 10 RVs out in the middle of nowhere. Put a big caravan around, big bonfires, and all we do, man, we ride, drink beer, go shoot some guns, put some fireworks out at night. And I just love, man. It's great family time. It's great harmless fun. You know what I mean? It's not. It's cheap. You know, you take your place out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just. I don't know. It's something I love, man.
Dude, where are you keeping all your toys at?
I love that. Well, here in California, you can't keep them at your house. I wish I could, but we got a little small ass lots. But so there's a place by me that I keep my RV. My boat I just sold after 20 years.
How hard was that?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's one of those. They say that a boat owner, the favorite day is buying the boat. The best second favorite day is selling the boat, right? And my boat was great, was awesome, was a Moomba, and I love that. It was a great company to work, a great company boat. But I wasn't using it all the time. So here in California, the storage, man, I'm paying for storage. I'm paying for luxury tax. I'm paying for registration and maintenance. So, and that just didn't make sense to keep it anymore. So I just go rent a boat next time. But that RV I'm keeping, man. I got the Winnebago. The Winnebago is awesome for me. We just go out in the middle of nowhere, and I either go to the beach, hang out right on the beach. We're doing that in about.
You still got your dirt bikes?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm a Yamaha guy.
Yeah.
I'm all Yamaha out. I got the 450s, and that's my thing.
Dude, you got the straight up dirt bike Yamaha 450?
Yeah, straight 450.
Now, when you go out and ride, are you wearing, pads, suit, helmet, the whole nine?
I ride the whole thing. Now, I'm not driving I just climb hills and go ride. I mean, I'm an old school vet rider now. I just kind of ride around. Come back to the camp and drink some beer, or drive to the bar.
Right.
That's me. I'm not going on a 28-mile hike anymore. We just go and have fun. Just fire it up.
What year's your bike?
It's I have a 2002. So it's actually a 426F. So we just say 450, but it's the 4-stroke. I still got the compression lever on the front there.
Is it kick?
It's a kick. Oh yeah,
oh,
man! You kick that thing up, man. And once you learn how to kick it, it's easy. The compression lever, a little compression, a little back down the kick, and then pop. And it pops over every time. But I still do that, man. I got it's been a great bike, man. So I'm not going to trade it in. I still got the metal frame, not the aluminum frame like they have all that stuff now.
Were you riding bikes back in the days when the 2-strokes were the thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My first bike, well, I had the mini bike, but then I had I had a Suzuki RM80, a little RM80 back in the day. This is 2-stroke. Gene LaBelle, Gene LaBelle used to tell me, he goes, this damn shitty 2-strokes. He always tried to get me into the 4-strokes, I don't know. But I've been riding my whole life,
Are you out there ripping it up? You just cruising?
Nah, man, I'm not a Jeff Hardy where I'm doing jumps and shit. Nah, I'm just cruising, bro. I cruise. That's why I like the 4-stroke, because I keep it in second, third gear. It's like a Cadillac. I just drive around.
Man, one of the things I'm having a hard time though in Nevada is a lot of it's like hard surface but loose pack on top of it, or it's deep sand. And I told my buddy at the cycle shop, man, I got a KLX 450. I said, dude, man, that sand is super squirrely. He goes, Steve, sit your ass damn near on the fender. You said it.
Back.
Sit way back, put the weight on the back end of that damn bike, and then just.
That front end kind of just squirrels around, but yeah, for sure.
But dude, that bike is a 2008. I've had it since it's brand new. It don't have hardly any hours on it. I've dropped it one time, dropping about 10 miles. Dude, it's like the newest 2008 in the world. I dropped it one time, trying to work a little berm action on this little track by my house. But I'm so green on that thing. My specialty, my four-wheeler and my Terex, that's kind of like, and I'm not going crazy. I just like doing the crawling, cruising.
Yeah, I love
Man,
that.
I got my buddy with me, and I'm following another guy. I was riding by myself the other day. I was going up some pretty trick stuff. Yeah. And I was, dude, you're in the middle of nowhere. No one knows where I'm at. My wife don't know where I'm at. Sure. And so if I'm to have an accident or turn this thing over and get pinned, no one's going to come find you. Yeah. And I've yet to get a winch put on that thing. Got to have a winch. Sure. So anyway, I got this one technical area. It's kind of downhill. It started getting a little bit loose and narrow. And I said, dude, you better just turn your ass around and go back home.
So reverse on that thing?
Yeah, I got reverse. but it's cool because I'm so I got a couple friends, but just don't like to ride with anybody. Yeah. When I ride with my buddies, it's cool. You're out there riding in the middle of nowhere, or just even riding bike. It's more fun to ride with somebody than by yourself. Now, if I'm just doing my thing where I'm thinking and chilling and just doing cruising, that's cool. But you can't push the envelope.
I don't push the envelope anyways because, but like I said before, I get my adrenaline in the ring. That's when I can let all that shit out. Man, I just go and cruise and have fun. I enjoy it. When we go in Mojave Desert, we kind of just go there, and there's a little town. It's called I think it's Randsburg next to us. Where that big earthquake was at. That big earthquake just happened right there, and we'll go to that little bar and it's like Ridgecrest, and it's like that little. That's where we go, Ridgecrest, and it's like the river. Like, with all the boats driving by and stuff, you go there, there's little tiny bars, and you got all the bikes and the Raptors and all this stuff driving by and stuff. Everybody's all, man, we just go drive there. We'll hang out for a little bit, then go back to the camp and, play horseshoes. And, somebody say, hey man, I just got this new AR. Oh shit. So we'll go around the corner and go check it out, go shoot that. It's just a good fun. It's relaxing, man. If we want to just take a nap, we'll take a nap. It's awesome. You got it, bro. If you're free, you would love it, and nobody cares.
What y'all do that with
Thanksgiving weekend? Yeah. We got the full DirecTV out there, so we got the games going. We don't miss a game. I don't miss the Cowboys. It's just great.
Who's cooking? Y'all barbecue?
We have the full Thanksgiving thing out there. The entire Thanksgiving. So one person was doing the turkeys, next person do this. We don't miss anything. The only thing you're missing is your mother-in-law. That's the only thing you're missing. We're in the middle of nowhere with full RVs, and we're glamping. Of course, it's not camping in tents. Yeah. We're glamping. We're
I'm a glamper.
Yeah, I'm a glamper. Yeah. After the bottle of wine and the fire pit, I'm going inside and taking a hot ass shower. I put a DVD on. I'm getting my Sealy mattress. Making a little cappuccino bullshit, totally. But that's we're doing.
As me and my wife call them, our pajamas are our comfy cozies.
Well, I don't get out of pajamas. I go out there today, I put my UGG boots on outside and walk out there, just kind of hang out. And I'm like a mechanic. I'll make sure that the kids' bikes running good and stuff. But besides, I ride, but I don't really ride. I go just putt around and have fun, and it's just chilling.
I'm on my third 16-ounce beer. It's 2:30. I still got to work out. Great stories. You okay to drive home?
Yeah, man, I'm great. I'm good.
I like his beer. Los Guerreros, Mexican-style lager. 5.0%.
Craftbeerkings.com.
How long has the Lobster Brewing Company been around?
About 2 weeks. No, they've been around a while, man. They've been around a while. Like I said, the master brewer Herb, he started, the kind of when home brewing was kind of nobody did it. He kind of just started doing that. So he's a guy that he's got all these different cool, great beers and seasonal beers. Sometimes he's got this really cool called a Brut beer that's very light, like a champagne. All the girls like it because it's very light, very champagne style, but still has a little bit of beer flavor in it. But it's a straight up beer, but it's very light and bubbly, like a champagne. It's called a Brut. It's excellent.
I like a can. I just noticed that's a wrap. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people are doing these days.
Everybody wraps it up, man. Yep. Yeah. Is yours? No, you got the bottle though.
No. I mean, we did some specialty cans just for my show, but I mean, it's in bombers.
Yeah, so it's this can exactly. It's a wrap, but if you see the wrap, if you would take this wrap off, the actual skull is clear. That's the can behind it.
Gotcha.
That's silver. See that?
Well, tell me about the designs on the back, because you got a guy flying through the air.
So that's the actual from the skull. They kind of took those designs and kind of put them on it. And these guys doing my grandfather's move, which is the gory special. Another one doing a frog splash out there.
Yep.
So on the back, it kind of tells a story about the Guerrero family and how we began in the world of wrestling and why we moved into the beer world. You know, it's got a little signature on it from me on the bottom, you know, and just talks about, driving responsibly and enjoying this beer.
Viva La Raza.
That's it, man.
Glow Season 3 is out, probably now as this drops.
Yep.
But if it didn't drop, Glow starts streaming on Netflix on
August 9th. Netflix, you watch Glow Season 3. Catch up on Season 1, Season 2. Catch me, Chavo Guerrero Jr. on Instagram, and then on Twitter at MexWarrior. And you can order the beer, Los Guerreros Mexican-style lager, at craftbeerkings.com and ship it to the continental United States.
And that's the bottom line, because he said so. Damn, it's been a good time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's give big ups to Geico for being a loyal sponsor of the Steve Austin Show. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you can be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. Let's give big ups to TrueCar for supporting the podcast. Every car comes with this share of stories. That ding in your bumper for when you attempted to park somewhere in Los Angeles, or the mileage you saved by taking the bus all summer. While you can't put a price tag on your stories, now with TrueCar, you can at least find out what your car is worth when it's time to sell or trade it in. Just go to TrueCar. Simply enter your license plate number and watch how your car's details pop up. Then just answer a few questions. Navigation, moonroof, spacious trunk. This way you'll know how much of a hit it's going to be so you can plan ahead. Once you're finished, you'll get a True Cash offer sent in minutes, which you can take to a local certified dealer to cash out or trade in. So when you're ready to experience a better way to sell or trade in your car, check out TrueCar today. True Cash offer not available in all states. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cues. Time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. But before I do that, I want to thank my guest, Chavo Guerrero Jr. on Twitter and Instagram. I believe he is at MexWarrior, coming by and bringing some ice-cold Los Guerreros fine Mexican lager beer. Had a great time shooting the breeze with you and drinking your beer. It's a damn good beer. Please find out where you can find his beer. And don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends to check us out. Make sure to set your DVRs for Straight Up Steve Austin every Monday night after Raw. Man, I'd love to get a season 2 out of this show to take what I learned and apply it to next season. And also, I'm still trying to pay those bills I sent in the mail just like you are. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send an email to questions@steveaustinshow.com. If you're looking for a badass pocket knife, I got 2 for your ass. Broken Skull and Working Man from Cold Steel. Amazon has the best price on both knives. Just go to amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. And I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially TrueCar, Geico, BetOnline.ag, and the NHTSA. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info on my sponsors, check out the show description to this episode for details. Folks, I am on social media, Instagram and Twitter, at Steve Austin BSR. Also, if you ever see me in the woods, you'll proudly see me riding a Kawasaki. Until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.